A mountain sleeps beneath snow, and then, without warning, it erupts. Flowers bloom for only days, yet their beauty outlives centuries. In Japan, there is a goddess who is both of these truths, delicate as a falling petal, fierce as volcanic fire. She is springtime and destruction, birth and ash, love and suspicion, flame and renewal. We walk beneath falling blossoms and stand at the edge of a sacred volcano to meet Konohanasakuya-hime. Before we begin tonight's journey, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Christiana and her dad Chris for listening to the Morbid Witch Podcast. Your support, your time, and your curiosity mean more than you know. Thank you for walking these strange paths with us. And also a thank you to our Russian and Polish listeners. It's nice to meet you. Welcome back, witches and wanderers, to the Morbid Witch Podcast. Tonight, we return to Japanese mythology, where nature and divinity intertwine so tightly that mountains become ancestors and flowers become gods. We are diving deep into the luminous, tragic, and powerful figure of Konohanasakuya-hime, the Blossom Princess, the Lady of Mount Fuji, the goddess whose name carries the sound of blooming life and the inevitability of fading beauty. Konohanasakuya-hime is not merely a floral deity. She is volcanic, maternal, and mythologically complex. She is the daughter of Oyamatsume, the mountain god. She is the sister of Iwanaga-hime, the stone princess. She is the wife of Nanigi no Mikoto, the heavenly grandson sent to rule the earth. And she is the mother of Hoderi, Hosuseri, and Hoori, divine ancestors whose stories ripple into the imperial lineage of Japan itself. Through her, themes of mortality, beauty, jealousy, endurance, and divine legitimacy collide like tectonic plates beneath sacred soil. Konohanasakuya-hime's name is often translated as she who makes the blossoms bloom, or princess of the flowering trees. Yet, like many deities in Shinto tradition, she carries multiple titles that reveal different facets of her nature. She is sometimes called Shinjin-sama, particularly in relation to Mount Fuji's shrines. In older texts, she may appear as Sakuya-hime, or Konohanasakuya-bime, variations that maintain the central imagery of blooming and unfolding life. These names are not merely poetic. They reflect how communities experienced her. In agricultural villages, she was invoked for fertility of land and family. Near volcanic regions, she embodied the terrifying unpredictability of nature. At mountain shrines, she was the spiritual guardian of ascent, watching those who dared to climb sacred peaks. Each title becomes less an alias and more a localized relationship. Evidence that deities in Shinto belief are shaped as much by environment as by narrative. Her association with Mount Fuji is perhaps her most enduring identity. Fuji is both serene and volatile, symmetrical and destructive. To link Konohanasakuya-hime with Fuji is to acknowledge that beauty and catastrophe can occupy the same space. The blossom and the eruption are not opposites, they are phases. One of the most defining myths involving Konohanasakuya-hime begins with her marriage to Ninigi no Mikoto, the celestial grandson of the sun goddess Amaterasu. When Ninigi descended from heaven to rule the earthly realm, he encountered Konohanasakuya-hime and was instantly captivated by her beauty. He sought her hand in marriage, and her father, Oya Matsume, agreed, but with a condition. He offered both of his daughters, Konohanasakuya-hime, the Blossom Princess, and Iwanaga-hime, the Stone Princess who represented endurance and eternity. Ninigi accepted only Konohanasakuya-hime, rejecting Iwanaga-hime, because she was not considered beautiful. This decision would echo through mythology as a cosmic mistake. Oya Matsume warned that by refusing the Stone Princess, Ninigi had doomed his descendants to mortality. Had he accepted both, his lineage would have endured like stone. Instead, it would be fleeting like blossoms. This myth becomes a theological explanation for human mortality, a poetic justification for why life is brief, yet vivid. The rejection of Iwanaga-hime also introduces one of Japanese mythology's most haunting themes, the cost of choosing beauty over permanence. Konohanasakuya-hime becomes not the cause of mortality, but the symbol of its acceptance. Life is precious because it ends. Flowers are cherished because they fall. Another pivotal myth surrounds suspicion and purity. After marrying Ninigi, Konohanasakuya-hime became pregnant almost immediately. Ninigi doubted that the child could be his, suspecting infidelity. In response, Konohanasakuya-hime devised a dramatic and terrifying test. She sealed herself inside a birthing hut and set it ablaze, declaring that if the children were truly divine and his, they would survive the flames. The hut burned fiercely, yet Konohanasakuya-hime gave birth safely within the inferno, and her children, Hoderi, Hososeri, and Huori, emerged unharmed. This act solidified her divine purity and strength. Fire in this context became both destructive and cleansing. It is not merely a trial, it is a declaration of agency. She does not plead innocence, she proves it through elemental force. This myth also reinforces her volcanic symbolism. Fire is not separate from her identity, it is intrinsic. She is the blossom that grows from ash, the life that persists through eruption. The story is as much about feminine power and defiance as it is about divine lineage. Konohanasakuya-hime's sons each represent different aspects of divine inheritance. Hoderi, often associated with the sea and fishing, embodies abundance and sustenance. Hososeri is less prominently featured, but represents continuity and balance. Hoori, perhaps the most famous, becomes a central figure in myths involving lost fish hooks, underwater kingdoms, and ancestral legitimacy. Through Huori's lineage, the Japanese imperial family traces divine descent, placing Konohanasakuya-hime at the root of political and spiritual authority. Her motherhood is not passive. It is mythologically foundational. She is not merely the bearer of heroes, but the validator of their legitimacy. Without her trial by fire, their divine status could have been questioned. Her strength becomes their inheritance, her defiance their shield. Konohanasakuya-hime embodies a paradox that resonates deeply with human experience: the coexistence of fragility and power. Blossoms fall easily, yet trees endure. Volcanoes destroy, yet their soil nourishes future growth. She is the reminder that endings and beginnings are not opposites, but partners in a continuous cycle. Her mythology speaks to the inevitability of change. Beauty fades, structures crumble, lives end. Yet, from those endings come renewal and transformation. In this way, she becomes less a distant goddess and more a mirror, reflecting humanity's own impermanence and resilience. Konohanasakuya-hime is not simply a flower goddess or a mountain spirit. She is a convergence of themes: beauty and fire, doubt and proof, mortality and legacy. Through her, Japanese mythology explores the tension between what lasts and what dazzles briefly. She teaches that fleeting things can still hold immense power, and that endurance does not always mean stone. Sometimes endurance is the ability to bloom again after burning. Thank you for listening to the Morbid Witch Podcast. If you ever find yourself beneath falling cherry blossoms or gazing at the quiet majesty of Mount Fuji, remember the goddess who lives in both petals and flame, the princess who proved her truth through fire and whose children shaped empires. Follow the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Share the stories with fellow night travelers, and return next time as we step once more into myth, memory, and the spaces where beauty and shadow meet. Stay strange, stay spooky, and remember, the shadows are always watching.